In this video, I'll be showing you how many Americans actually retire with $1 million or more saved, and why the answer reveals that the $1 million target that everyone obsesses over, it's both rarer than you think and less meaningful than you've been told. Through working with clients across every savings level, what I've discovered is that the real divide in retirement, it isn't between millionaires and everyone else. It's between retirees who control their income and the retirees whose income is controlled for them. That distinction has almost nothing to do with whether you hit $1 million. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you the real numbers, what they mean, and why the conversation about retirement readiness needs to change. A quick intro, I'm Scott Lamborg, certified financial planner and CEO of Sterling Wealth Partners. Let's get right into it. The real numbers on who retires with $1 million. Despite every headline and retirement calculator treating $1 million as the baseline target, less than 10% of American retirees actually accumulate that much in retirement savings. It means that the vast majority retire with significantly less. The median retirement savings for households approaching retirement is less than $200,000. So the $1 million number, it isn't the norm, it's the top tier. And most Americans are building their retirement around Social Security plus a much smaller portfolio. This creates a big disconnect. The advice people receive assumes that they'll have $1 million or more, but the reality for most is very different. Strategies designed for millionaire retirees simply don't apply to the majority. Even the financial industry, they love promoting $1 million as the minimum. It drives product sales, increases fee revenue, and keeps people anxious and saving. For most households, the real question isn't, how do I get to $1 million? It's, how do I make what I have actually work? Even among the 10 to 20% who do reach $1 million, most of that money sits in pre-tax accounts like 401ks in traditional IRAs. So the million on the statement isn't $1 million of spendable money. Every withdrawal is taxable. A big chunk of millionaire retirees also have much of their net worth tied up in their home equity. Looks good on paper, but a house doesn't produce retirement income unless you sell it or downsize. And it still costs money every year in taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Very few retirees have $1 million in truly liquid tax-efficient assets like Roth or after-tax brokerage accounts. Most millionaire retirees, they still face the same forced income problems as everyone else, just on a larger scale. The label millionaire retiree, it sounds impressive, but it says nothing about how much of that million you actually get to keep. That depends entirely on where the money sits and how the money is structured. So most people don't reach $1 million, and most who do have it locked in pre-tax accounts. But here's why the $1 million line isn't the right thing to focus on. Why $1 million isn't the real divide. The financial industry draws a bright line at $1 million, but after working with retirees at every asset level, I've learned that the real divide is between those who control their taxable income and those whose income is controlled by the system through forced RMDs and stacking. A retiree with $700,000 split across traditional, Roth, and taxable accounts can choose which bucket to pull from each year. They can manage brackets, protect more of their Social Security, avoid IRMA, and adapt as conditions change. A retiree with $1.3 million entirely in a traditional IRA has almost no control. Every dollar spent creates taxable income. RMDs at 73 will force $47,000 or more that they can't avoid. That stacks with Social Security and creates taxes they can't escape. Often, the $700,000 retiree with real control keeps a higher percentage of their money and pays a lower effective tax rate than the $1.3 million retiree without control. Income control has the potential to beat portfolio size because it gives you the ability to choose how much income shows up on your tax return each year. You can fill those lower brackets intentionally, use Roth for big expenses without spiking your taxes, and adapt your withdrawal mix year by year. Retirees without control are stuck with whatever RMDs force out, stacked with whatever Social Security has, taxed at whatever bracket that lands in, and charged whatever IRMA tier that it triggers. The real question in retirement isn't, do I have $1 million? It's, can I control what the IRS sees each year? Retirees who answer yes to the second question may feel wealthier regardless of the headline number. So income control is the real divide. But many people on both sides of the $1 million line, they're making the same mistake about Social Security. How Social Security changes the math for everyone. Most retirees dramatically underestimate what Social Security actually provides. For many households, it can be 30% or more, often far more than people factor into do I have enough calculations. A couple with a combined benefit of $45,000 to $65,000 per year may have a large portion of their basic living expenses covered by guaranteed inflation-adjusted income that they can't outlive. Their portfolio only needs to fill that gap. That means a household spending $70,000 per year with $55,000 in Social Security only needs their portfolio to produce $15,000 annually. On a $500,000 portfolio, that's just a 3% withdrawal rate. Very sustainable. Both millionaire retirees and those with less make the same mistake. They ignore Social Security when judging readiness. That makes everyone feel less prepared than they actually are. For retirees above $1 million, Social Security still provides substantial income, but large RMDs from traditional accounts can push provisional income high enough that 85% of benefits become taxable. Having more saved can actually mean keeping less of your Social Security because of that forced income stacking. At every asset level, the retirees who actively manage provisional income through account diversification and smart withdrawal sequencing keep more of their Social Security than those who let income stack uncontrolled. Now that you see how Social Security changes the math at every level, if you want help building your dream retirement as a whole, click the link below to watch my free training where I'll show you exactly how to manage your retirement plan so you can apply this to your own situation. The pre-tax trap hits millionaires and non-millionaires the same way. Whether you have $600,000 or $2 million, if most of it sits in pre-tax accounts, you're going to face the same core problem that every dollar you access is fully taxable. RMDs at 73 force income you can't control, and you've got no tax-free options to manage brackets or thresholds. At $600,000, the RMDs are smaller, maybe $22,000 per year, but you also have less total income to absorb the taxes. So the percentage impact on your spending power can feel just as painful. At $2 million, the impact is larger, but the structural issue is identical. The potential solution is the same at both levels. Consider using the early retirement years to move money from pre-tax Roth through bracket managed conversions and build taxable accounts for more flexible income. A large portion of millionaire retirees may only hit that status when you include home equity. A $500,000 home plus $600,000 in a 401k looks like $1.1 million on paper, but it functions very differently. The home produces no income. It can't be partially sold easily and still costs money every year in taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Retirees who count on home equity as part of their $1 million often discover that their investable assets, the money that produces retirement income, is far smaller than the headline suggests. The retirees who separate home equity from investable assets get a much more accurate picture of their readiness. For many, the real number is lower than $1 million, but still sufficient if the income is structured correctly. So the pre-tax trap and the housing illusion affect retirees at every level. Now let me show you what can affect retirement success regardless of your investment asset balance. After working with retirees at every asset level, I've seen that long-term success comes down to 3 questions. What will my forced income look like at 73? What income sources can I actually control? And what happens to the tax picture when one spouse is gone? A retiree with $800,000 who can answer those questions and has built their plan around the answers is often in a stronger position than a retiree with $1.5 million who's never run the projections and has everything in one pre-tax account. The 3 elements that are important to consider are income diversification across account types, withdrawal sequencing that adapts year to year, and the willingness to act during the conversion window instead of waiting for the government to force the outcome. None of those require $1 million. They require understanding how the system actually works and positioning your accounts accordingly. The survivor scenario is where many plans break. In my experience, the retirees who plan for the surviving spouse's tax picture consistently produce better long-term outcomes because the plan works for both lives, not just the comfortable joint filing years. At every asset level, the surviving spouse may face compressed brackets, continued forced income, and reduced Social Security. This isn't a millionaire problem or a sub-millionaire problem. It's a structural problem that affects every household with pre-tax retirement assets and 2 lives to plan for. Now that you can see what affects success, let's bring it all together. Why the conversation needs to change. Instead of asking, do I have $1 million? The better questions are, what will my forced income look like at 73? Can I control which accounts I draw from each year? What happens to my Social Security taxation at different income levels? And what does a surviving spouse's tax picture look like? These questions produce actionable answers at every balance level. The $1 million question, it produces either false comfort or it could be unnecessary anxiety. Less than 10% of retirees are going to reach $1 million. But reaching it doesn't mean you've solved retirement. And not reaching it doesn't mean that you failed. The real measure is income structure, not portfolio size. Social Security provides a powerful income foundation at every level. Retirees who factor it in accurately, they might discover that they're closer to retirement than they thought. Pre-tax concentration in housing wealth creates illusions of readiness that the tax system eventually exposes. I believe the retiree who feels the most confident at every balance level are the ones who control their income, they plan for the survivor, and they treat retirement as an income engineering problem rather than a savings accumulation race. Now that you've seen how many people actually retire with $1 million or more, while the real number is less than 10% of retirees, why most of that wealth is locked in pre-tax accounts or housing that doesn't produce flexible income, while the real divide isn't $1 million line, but income control versus forced income, how Social Security changes the math at every balance level, how the pre-tax trap and housing illusion affect millionaires and non-millionaires equally, and why income structure can potentially affect retirement success more than portfolio size. You can stop measuring yourself against a headline number and start building the income plan that actually tells you whether your retirement works. If you want help building your dream retirement, click the link below to watch my free training where I'll show you exactly how to build income control for your specific situation. See you in the next video.